what it's like to live a life constantly in fear. It sounds really horrible, but the truth is that that's what the thousands of people who suffer from phobias must deal with every day of their lives. I know from personal experience how debilitating these phobias can become, from watching my sister suffer with one for several years of her childhood. From ages 3 to 7, my younger sister struggled from a fear of dogs, which is called cynophobia. One incident in particular comes to mind where my family was taking a walk one evening and everything was great. Then around the corner came a man walking his dog. My sister, who was around 5 years old at that time, started screaming and crying, and she would not calm down until my dad picked her up and the whole family crossed the street until the dog was out of her field of view. So, luckily my sister's phobia has lessened with time, as many childhood phobias do, but that's not the case for everyone. So today I'm going to be talking about the types of phobias, their causes, and some different treatment options, and the hope that there is for people who suffer from phobias. But first of all, why does this matter to you? The truth is that phobias are much more common than anyone might think. They affect 1 in 12 Americans, according to the article Fear and Loathing from 1999 in Chemist and Druggist. So that means that around 2 people in this room have or will suffer from a phobia at some point in their lives. So it touches a lot of people's lives. So next off, we're going to talk about the types of phobias because they affect everyone differently. In her 2014 article, What Do You Fear?, Pamela Curlbosch said there were 3 main categories of phobias. The first category is social phobias, and social phobias are anything that has to do with interacting with others, being such as talking on the telephone or public speaking. So that's the first category of phobia. The second main category of phobia is called agoraphobia. Agoraphobia is extremely debilitating. So what happens for these people is they generally have had a history of panic attacks, and they become scared that they will have a panic attack in public and they will have no means of getting help. And so what they do as their coping mechanism is they just don't go in public and they become confined to their house. And the final category of phobia is the most common. They're called simple phobias, and these include animal phobias like my sister had, environmental phobias, so things like storms or heights, situational phobias such as going to the dentist or being in an elevator, blood and injection phobias, and anything else that doesn't fit in the above categories, such as, for example, a phobia of clowns. It would be a simple phobia. Next of all, there are many debated causes of phobias. Common sense would tell you that most phobias are caused by trauma or a bad experience. So, for example, if someone is attacked by a dog, they might learn to have a phobia of dogs because they now know that from personal experience that dogs can be dangerous. However, this isn't true for everyone. My sister did not ever have a bad experience being attacked by an animal, yet she still developed her dog phobia. So clearly something else was at work, and that was her genes. Mental illness has a huge genetic component, but especially for phobias because of evolution. The 2014 article Monsters on the Brain by Stephen Asma described how early humans could have evolved phobias, which might explain why they're still so common today. For example, the phobia of snakes. Early humans who were afraid of snakes probably knew instinctively to avoid snakes, so they got bitten way less often and they survived longer because they weren't being poisoned by snakes as often. So that's how the gene could have been passed down to still affect people today. So finally, with all of the genetic components and the generations of evolution that have put phobias into people's minds today, there is still hope. There is medication available, but the most effective method of treatment is often therapy. In the article Understanding and Treating Social Phobia by Russell Curtis from 2009, he discusses methods of therapy such as exposure therapy. Also known as systematic desensitization, exposure therapy is exposing people to the object of their phobia little by little so that eventually it triggers their fight or flight response less and less. This is what happened with my sister. My dad decided that he was tired of baiting her and waiting for her to get over her fear of dogs. So he bought a puppy, not caring about her fear, and eventually she grew to love the puppy, and now she no longer struggles with such a debilitating fear of dogs. They'll never be her favorite animals, but she's okay to be around them now, and that's all that we can really ask for her. However, even though exposure therapy works for up to 90% of people, a lot of people will refuse it because if you're terrified of something, who would want to spend a lot of time with a spider crawling over their hand, for example? So one possible solution to this problem is discussed by Amy Westerfall in her article published in the Wall Street Journal from 2015. And that solution is virtual reality. More and more doctors are allowing patients to be exposed to their phobias through virtual reality, which only 3% of phobic patients say they would refuse if offered to them. So this could be the future of mental help for phobias. In summation, I hope that now you understand a little more about phobias, and I hope now that as a society we can one day have more empathy for people who struggle from this. Thank you.